Hi guys, Vechs here. Welcome to World of Oh, no. Not World of Tanks. World of Warships. Instead of tanks, it's ships. And I'd like to try the game out on my channel. And if y'all like it, like y'all liked World of Tanks, I'll do more of it. And if you don't like it, just let me know. I won't be offended. But enough people asked last time and upvoted for the comments for me to try it out. And figured I'd give it a go. I just got out of a battle with a Tier 3 Japanese destroyer, the Wakatake. The Wakatake right here. And I think I did pretty well. I landed 9 torpedo hits, which is, I feel is pretty awesome. I think I beat a mission. Yeah, I managed to beat a mission. And right off the bat, I can say World of Warships, for me, is a lot more enjoyable than World of Tanks. There's not really... World of Tanks had two things that kind of, you know, I wasn't a huge fan of sometimes, that got annoying. One is like invisible tanks that are just right in front of you in a bush shooting you, and you just, they can't be revealed for whatever reason. Basically the spotting mechanics in World of Tanks. There are spotting mechanics in this game, but because the whole match plays out on the open water, it's really not the same thing that World of Tanks has. And then the penetration and bouncing mechanics, a lot of times you're pitted up against things in World of Tanks that you just can't hurt them. Like, your gun cannot hurt the enemy vehicle. And it's just not fun. It doesn't happen all the time, but it'll happen often enough, especially for a new player, that it gets quite aggravating. In World of Warships, every ship, even the smallest ones, have pretty damn big guns. And so when you fling high explosive shells, you're always causing something to happen, always causing some damage. And yes, there's armor-piercing shells, and yes, you can try to use them to land basically what is essentially critical hits on the enemy ship for extra damage. This is called hitting the Citadel in this game. But for the most part, on cruisers and destroyers, you fling high explosive, and you never hear, that one bounced, or we didn't penetrate their armor, like you did in World of Tanks. So I really like that better. Anyway, let's take a look at this match. I did pretty well. I did, in low tiers, it's very, very easy to make money. I will say that already. I netted 110,000 credits for that, and very tiny. The repair bills are pretty negligible. I don't even know why they put them in the game. Even at the higher tier, they don't seem that bad. Up to tier 8 is what I've played up to. And I got most XP on my team. It's amazing. All right, let's go to have a look at what happened. Okay, so we're in game, and this is my Wakatake right here. Now I started out. Let's see if I can. Will it show me? No, it won't. It will not show me the points I've queued up on the map. Well, that's poopy. That's okay. The game is still pretty early on, so I know I think the Russians. Right now, the ships in the game are American and Japanese, which makes sense to be the starting ones because they probably had the most frequent naval engagements out of World War II, out in the Pacific. But coming are going to be the Russian Navy, German Navy, and British. So those are the other nations. So there should be, I know, 5 that are going to be out. So I started with the American ships, but I have to say that I really enjoy the... it's so weird. It's acting like I can... It's actually acting like I can control the replay right here, but I can't, obviously. Oh, look at that. I like the Japanese destroyer line. I started with the Americans, and I've switched, because the Japanese have better torpedo range, and I find the range to be a very important stat here. So for the people who've never played this, down at the bottom of the screen, 1 activates high explosive shells for guns. 2 is armor-piercing shells, and then 3 are my torpedoes. And what you saw just now was my torpedo deployment UI, the little cone there. Now what I'm trying to do here is hang around the corner of this island, but I derped it up pretty bad, and I ended up ramming myself into the shore. Thankfully, I didn't cause any serious damage to my ship. Ramming can seriously damage or sink your ship. So again, this is the torpedo interface. Now, I'm shooting my torpedoes just over there in the off chance that they'll hit something. I don't always know what's around out there. Over there, that white fog bank is a smoke screen. Destroyers can deploy those, and they're basically, they temporarily offer concealment until the smoke dissipates. They're sort of similar to the bushes in World of Tanks, but they don't last forever, and they have to be deployed by a player. Other than that, there's no bushes in the game. There are these mountains here, but you can still see over them. So there's little red pips in the water right there. Those are enemy torpedoes. Now, one of my torpedoes I hit, you can see on the right side, I've got a torpedo hit notice, and I caused flooding on somebody's ship. So I just ruined somebody's day. They're not happy right now. Hopefully, I'll try and explain the game elements as quickly and concisely as I can. There's me kicking out some more torpedoes. And that's a ram. That's a very light ram. We basically did nothing to each other. I took 4 points of damage out of 8,200 hit points total. So basically nothing. We just barely scraped each other. But had I hit like head on, we could have done some heavier damage. So there's 4 kinds of ships in the game. There's battleships, whose main purpose is to act as your big, heavy guns firing from long range. Oop, another torpedo hit. And the battleships are pretty effective against cruisers, because the cruisers are big enough that they can reliably hit them. And the cruisers just don't have the armor to stand up to battleship guns, or the durability, I should say. Armor's not really... Armor is kind of a factor, only in specific circumstances in this game. Which I'll get into in a later video. It's more advanced. So I'm going to... Did I deploy my smoke screen there? Yes, I actually deployed my smoke screen, and I've got 2 doses of it, 2 charges. So I've used the first one. That's an aircraft up there, if I can see it. There it is, flying away. And that's my... you have secondary guns on your ship, which are used automatically. So that'd be your anti-aircraft guns and the smaller guns that shoot when enemy ships are closer. So here's a nice juicy target. That right there is a Miyogi class battleship, and I just kicked off 4 torpedoes at it, and we're gonna get a hit. Oh, wrecked!
You destroyed an enemy battleship.
And I hit the beach again. Thankfully, didn't do too much damage that time either. And I'm trying to... That collision warning is screaming at me, letting me know that I'm being an idiot and running my ship into the sand here. So I get myself unhung up and come around. But down goes that battleship. Now, I think the battleship did a pretty dumb thing, and that was to enter in these... I'm going to hit M here to access the map. And there's these very small islands with very close quarters areas here. The battleship was pretty dumb to come into those, knowing that if he hit tab, he could look and see how many destroyers were in the battle. So he had to know enemy destroyers would be there. Which is why his other guy, the other Wyoming-class battleship over there, goes into these tight quarters. And I'm just like, this is almost like a free kill for me. Like, this is the perfect scenario. A battleship that's stuck in tight quarters, and a destroyer that can come in. I've activated my other ability here, which was Y. That was a speed boost. I've got 2 charges of that as well. So I kick off some torpedoes. Now my torpedo tubes are right there. You can see there's one on the front. They're on little turrets. And there's one towards the rear of the ship. Maybe I should say stern. So I took a hit there, but it didn't do too much damage. Well, actually, yeah, it did. I'm down to about half durability. So I'm coming up, making like a textbook torpedo pass on this battleship. From such close range, he has no hope of dodging this. That's fire 1 and 2, fire 3 and 4. He's screwed. Boom!
Enemy battleship sunk.
Oh, so much fun. I love torpedoes in this game. They're so satisfying to use. The guns are nice too, but something about watching your torpedoes hit just makes me happy. So there's an enemy destroyer, and he's already shot torpedoes towards me in the hopes of a hit. That wave right there is going to miss, though. So I'm trying to use my guns. Can I go into the zoomed-in view? Yes, I can. Yes, I actually can. So I'm going to shoot torpedoes at him. I'm pretty hurt at this point. My ship is looking pretty crappy. So we shoot torpedoes at each other, and his first wave misses. I kill him. He's wrecked. But that one torpedo right there. Oh, no! Oh, that was a good run, though. I took 2 battleships with me. 2 battleships for the... 2 battleships and 1 enemy destroyer for the price of my 1 destroyer. I got the Miyogi and the... What else did I get? The Wyoming, right? Yeah, a Tier 3 destroyer just took down the big, super badass Tier 4 battleships, both of them. So in World of Tanks, the little tanks, the scout tanks, the light tanks, really lacked firepower. For the most part, there's a few exceptions. Don't nag at me. But for the most part, they really didn't have a lot of firepower or much ability to go out and kill big enemy tanks. In World of Tanks, for the most part, the bigger tank is gonna win. I mean, light tanks had their place. Except later on in the game, you'll have noticed it mostly just went to medium tanks. But to compare World of Tanks to this game, the little ships in this game, the destroyers, have some really terrifying firepower at their disposal in the form of torpedoes. Their guns are nothing to really... I mean, they're small guns. They can still do damage. I mean, they still do stuff. You're not really going to hear... That one bounced in this game. Oh, God, I hated that crap. But the little ships in this game have some killer firepower. Here's this guy's deploying torpedoes. I think what's left, that's the only thing left on their team. It's an aircraft carrier. So anyway, there's battleships, which have the biggest guns and the biggest firepower as far as guns go. Then there's cruisers, which are faster than battleships and more maneuverable. I figure a lot of people will enjoy playing cruisers because they're sort of especially Japanese cruisers seem to have a little bit of everything. They've got guns, torpedoes. Some of them can even deploy aircraft, which is awesome. They're kind of like your Swiss Army knife of ships. So if you're new to World of Warships and you don't know what to do, going down the Japanese cruiser line couldn't hurt. So anyway, the reason I came back here quite suddenly, once the replay ends, World of Warships, the replay viewer seems to kind of crash or lock up or not respond or whatever. So I had to do Control-Alt-Delete and close it. So yeah, it's pretty early still. Normally the game doesn't even have replays. I had to do some special crap to enable even recording replays since the game is early. But don't worry, I got the technical stuff worked out, and I got it. World of Warships coming at you. What else is there? So there's battleships, there's cruisers, there's destroyers. Here's a prime example of a destroyer. It's got some modest guns, you know, small guns. I mean, they're still in the comparative game to World of Tanks. These are what, 120 millimeter guns. This is why, and these are tiny. 120 millimeters is tiny, but 120 millimeters on a tank is pretty substantial. So that's why even the smallest guns in this game can hurt the biggest battleship, because they're still pretty big. But if you think a 120 millimeter gun is pretty impressive on a tank, think about these torpedoes back here. Just look at the size of them compared to the gun. That's, I mean, they're pretty. That's some pretty impressive firepower on this little, end quotes, little ship. It's actually still huge. So the destroyer's job is to go out and torpedo torpedo carriers and battleships. The cruiser's job is to... A lot of cruisers have good anti-aircraft guns. So their one good job for them is shooting down aircraft, which is important if you don't want like bombs dropped right down your smokestacks. Or torpedoes, which are actually worse. I would rather face the bombs than the torpedoes. They're good... Cruisers are good at killing destroyers, because cruiser guns fire faster than battleship guns. Destroyers have the smaller guns, and then the cruisers... Here's an example of a cruiser here. This Atlanta class cruiser has crap loads of small and medium-sized guns, and these things will rip to shreds a destroyer. So destroyers have to be pretty careful about mixing it up with a cruiser. Now, this cruiser, this is a Japanese... The Atlanta is a light cruiser. It's quick. The guns turn quickly. They're light guns. She does have torpedoes, though. A quartet rack on either side. So if you get close to the Atlanta, she'll be chewing you up with rapid-fire artillery, 127mm guns. But if you get close, she's got torpedoes. This cruiser here is a Tier 8. These are both premiums that I got. I really like both of these. The Atlanta's harder to use. If you're going to buy one or the other, and you're not sure... I bought the Atlanta first, and then I bought the Otago after having buyer's regret, but then I had some really good matches in the Atlanta, and once I think once I figure out... The Atlanta's going to take a lot more practice to play well, I think. Meanwhile, the Otago is just sort of... It's easier, I think, for a new player. So I would grab the Otago first, if you're going to get something. Or if you don't want to spend as much money, you can basically get a similar play style, I believe, in the Mermanx here. Because it has longer range torpedoes, and it still has larger guns. I don't have the Mermanx, but it does deploy, and it does deploy aircraft too. So yeah, it basically looks like a mini Otago to me if you're going to buy something, and it'll be a lot cheaper. But I quite like the Otago. It looks really cool. It's got like a modern appearance with the flat conning tower here. I quite like it. And it's got bigger guns that take... the turrets take longer to turn, but they do more damage. They fire slower. But my favorite thing about the Otago is actually the torpedoes on it. If you look here, it's got these quartet mounts, 2 on each side, so it can shoot off 8 torpedoes in a broadside, and the torpedoes travel 10 kilometers, whereas the torpedoes on the Atlanta travel 4.5. So if you like torpedo gameplay, it's a no-brainer decision to go with the Otago. The torpedoes are just better. And then there's the aircraft carrier. I don't have an example of that. I am in the process of grinding to it. On the tech tree here, I want the American aircraft carriers, I think. I'm not sure, but I'm grinding up the Wyoming to get to the Langley, and I am... How am I doing on that? 1,000? It's going to be a while. But that's the Wyoming. That's a battleship. I had some really nice matches in the South Carolina. When I first started playing, I thought the South Carolina was kind of a piece of shit. Pardon my French. I'm just being completely blunt. I thought it was crap. Utter rubbish. Garbage, if you will. But I had to get it first because I'm from South Carolina, and I had to have the ship named after my state. Then I stopped sucking at the game, and I learned how to hit citadels with armor-piercing shells reliably, and now I'm do pretty well with the South Carolina. If you want to just fling shells at the enemy, I'd say go with a cruiser and use high explosive. If you want to take your time and try and land that one perfect shot that's going to cripple an enemy ship by hitting a really nice location on it, then I'd say go with the battleships. So again, I think my advice is pretty good. If you don't know what you want to do, I'd recommend the Japanese cruiser line, because they get torpedoes, aircraft. They can deploy they can send up aircraft. They have a small fleet of aircraft. They get torpedoes. The American cruisers, that one has torpedoes. That one doesn't, and doesn't. Yeah, they basically, I think only the Omaha does, and was that it? The Phoenix does. Yeah, the Phoenix and the Omaha, and that's it. And the torpedoes you do get are short-range pieces of crap. So that's how I feel about that. So if you're starting the game, I would recommend Japanese cruisers until you figure out what you want to do. And I guess that's it for our first video of World of Warships. There's a lot of stuff I haven't explained yet, if you're new to the game, but that's okay because it's just the first video. And yeah, if you're curious about this, if this intrigued you, please let me know. If you liked the video, remember to like it. Click the like button. I usually don't ask for that, but the first video in a series, I want to see how many people are interested. And if you like it, please let me know, and I will do more. And if you don't like it, also let me know. Anyway, I'll see you next video. Until then, as always, fair seas.